everyone, welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm Ethan Van Sciver, your host. You can call me Uncle Ethan. I'm just a humble ink and superhero merchant, and I'm here to talk to you about Impulse number 41. This is the very first book that I drew for DC Comics. Oh my god, let me just tell you something. It's 1998. It says September 98. And let's see, so I would have been 24 years old when I drew this. And this was the coolest thing in the entire world. Now, I had basically wrapped up my time on Cyberfrog, which was my first kind of indie book. It was no longer paying my bills, so I kind of decided I'd better grow up and try to reach out to DC Comics. I started drawing comics at 19. Okay, that was when I first drew my very first Cyberfrog page, and I figured, look, 5 years of self-taught training. Here I am, 24 years old. I'd better go to the big leagues now. It's now or never. So I sent them some sample drawings of Impulse, and I don't know. I caught them just at the right time. I mean, I think Paul Kupperberg was the editor, and he was also editing John Byrne's Wonder Woman, and he started giving me pin-up work. I think I got a short story. No, maybe I got a pin-up and then I just went directly to this. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I did a pin-up of Wonder Girl, the John Byrne version of Wonder Girl, and then he said, you want to do an inventory story. Now back then, basically DC Comics, in order to keep the train on the rails, they would have what they called inventory stories. So they would have scripts available that would just sort of be for any purpose. They weren't in continuity necessarily, and they'd be in a drawer. And so they could assign it to an artist, and this is what you'd want to do, because you'd want to have a completed comic book sitting in the drawer, ready to go should some deadline snafu happen. Oh my god, all right, so so-and-so didn't finish his deadline. We need an instant fill-in issue. We have an inventory story in the drawer that we can just run. And so that's what this was. This was actually written by Jason Hernandez Rosenblatt, who was the assistant editor on Impulse. So this was his first effort at writing, and they handed it off to me. Yeah, sure, draw this, and we'll see what happens. I don't think it was ever intended to be Impulse 41 at first. I think that just kind of, it was dropped in. And I also seem to remember Jason Hernandez Rosenblatt was leaving DC Comics to get a job somewhere else. And so they kind of published this also as like a tribute to him, as a favor to him. I could be remembering that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. So Jason Hernandez Rosenblatt, first writer I worked with at DC, and he wrote the second appearance of Arrowette. Craig Rousseau drew this cover. He was the current artist on Impulse, and he had been since Humberto Ramos left. So Craig had been running the book for, I think, 2 years, maybe more than that, but I think 2 years. And then suddenly, this fill-in gets popped in. Oh boy, so I am wet behind the ears. Look at this. Yeah. Choosing camera angles, using my silhouettes as Arrowette stalks this thief. You don't notice that, buddy? And he breaks into this computer lab. Look at that. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my kind of tendency towards realism and mixing it with cartooniness to a really weird result. Like, this is weird. And double page spread as Arrowette nabs the crook. Return of Arrowette. And she says her name is Arrowette. Or no, it says her name is Arrowette. You can probably guess the rest. All right, Buster, just what do you think you're doing? And she's a cutie pie, I like her little outfit. I always liked Arrowette. It's a computer lab in a school, and there is an apple on the desk. I don't know. And he tries to run, and we get another kind of establishing panel of the computers. These are old school computers from 1998. as she lines up an arrow and shoots a webbing all over his feet. But that's just, look, she's a little newbie as a superhero. That didn't work. He just wiggled out the window, and there's the netting. So I guess I'm gonna have to call Impulse. So this is my first kind of splashy shot of Bart Allen and Max Mercury, and these are two characters that I would spend a long time drawing after this. I mean, by a long time, I mean I think about 2 years maybe, which is a long time when you're in your 20s. They're outrunning cheetahs. I think I used photo reference for these cheetahs. I think I did. And these elephants, they're on the African plains. And Impulse, look at him. He actually runs circles around this cheetah, who's just like, eh. And I guess this cheetah was chasing this gazelle. We stop to laugh at monkeys. That's important. We always do that at the zoo. And we stop at a watering hole to admire animals. And this is all me like, okay. Oh, by the way, I inked this, if you can't tell. I mean, I was inking all my work up until this point. The idea of actually only doing pencils was going to be a challenge for me, because I wasn't used to working with inkers. So here I am. I mean, this is my kind of Cyberfrog style being used on Impulse. It looks okay. I mean, it's a little muddy. I don't know. And there they go again. So already I'm starting to get the hang of drawing speedsters and using long pancake panels to show movement. I'm picking up some stuff. This is a goofy face. Look at that. What was I doing? A lot of electricity. I think I must have been. So Humberto Ramos probably started drawing like this. And I ended up picking this up, obviously, for Flash. And really overdoing this electrical Speed Force effect. I wonder if this coupon's still good for Mega Warheads candy. So you would save 25 cents by cutting up your comic book? Are you kidding me? I could pay you $0.25 to deface your comic book collection. Stop it. This is good. We have Impulse's house. And then look at this. I mean, this is just, dare I say, reminiscent of Flash Rebirth, page 1, issue 1, page 1, where it's like long pancake panels, completely redrawing the background every single time with just one character moving around therein. And Impulse, of course, thinks in pictograms, so we don't know what is being said to him on the phone. We have to just look at his pictograms to figure out what's going on. And I don't think necessarily that this is an easy thing to do. But then we cut to this cutie panel here of Arrowette in a college dorm, and she's got a Batmite doll, and she's got a poster of Superman, and that was the coolest thing ever. That was the first time I got a published drawing of Superman in a DC comic. This was something that DC used to do. Look at the Impulse gobbling up cookies. This is something that DC used to do. Like, they would actually, the editors would actually go, okay, so what's the big story? JLA seeing ghosts? ? So there was obviously some kind of event involving the JLA seeing ghosts, and you put that in the newspaper here to kind of entice people to go check out what that means. I like stuff like that. I mean, I'd look at it when it was in print, and I'd be like, what the? But no, they're just cross-promotion. Here's just one of these things where Bart Allen's trying on various... you can't go to the dance dressed as Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future. This is nerdy. You can't... What's with the bow tie? You wear an Elvis jumpsuit to a dance? No, you can't go as Devo with Whip It. You can't go as John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. This is ridiculous now. Jughead, no. Mozart, no. Yes. God, was that so hard? But the thing about it is he did this at super speed, so, this probably only took about 1 minute tops. And that was just, you can say it took 1 minute only because people came and left the room, like his friends are here. So it actually did take some time. This kid here is wearing a 311 t-shirt. You remember that band from the 90s? No? Me either. And then Bart goes to Arrowette's house. This actually creepily presages the new X-Men sex issue 118. Room 118. I knew then what I was going to do. And the sex issue wasn't going to happen for another 5 years, but I knew it right here, and I was letting you all know. We open the door. We keep consistency here. Superman, Pat Mite. She looks great and very cute and dazzling. Meanwhile, I don't know. She's got books on the shelf here, and I guess some of them are jokes. I didn't write these. Shaft, Robin Hood, Views of L.A. So that's L.A. Williams, who was the editor of this book. L.A. Williams would have been the assistant editor on Wonder Woman for Paul Kupperberg, and then the main editor on this book. And he was a really, really cool guy. Very cool guy. Hey, then, draw the outside of a hotel. Okay. And then a cake being delivered from this van, and Impulse and Arrowette, or Bart and Arrowette, show up. And then some hideous woman, that is a pistachio. And then some little guy, he's the groom, he's going to marry her. That's David Bogart, who was my editor on Cyberfrog at Harris Comics. Little guy. He is now pretty much running Marvel Comics in terms of, let's see, he did my contracts both times. I don't know what his job description is, but they hired him over at Marvel, I think, because Joe Quesada was running Marvel, and so we were the New York crew, kind of, and it's like Joe knew David Bogart as assistant editor at Harris, and then full-fledged editor at Harris Comics, and he just actually like head-hunted him. So David moved from Harris over to Marvel, where I believe he still is. Let's see here. I'll skip a couple pages. I don't know. Yeah. Bart, I'm starting to get better. I mean, look, I like his thick eyebrows. I like his hair and his face. He's eating a Cheeto. What is this? Oh, Ethan. Oh, boy. I'm going to pat myself on the back, but it's out of sympathy. It's like a patronizing pat on the back. Yeah, and then they're in their superhero suits. They're going to go. Bart's going up the stairs. I guess there's a crime going on. He says, what the? I say that every day. And yeah, what the is right, because there's an enormous wedding cake. And inside the wedding cake, this improbably huge wedding cake, there are monkeys getting out. And Bart says, Grodd, he says. And he thinks this is Gorilla. Well, he thinks one of them is Gorilla Grodd. I don't know which one he thinks is Grodd. And he starts beating up these monkeys. Look at him doing karate kicks and flips, giving this guy a noogie. And which one of you is Grodd? I don't think any of them are Grodd. I think they're men in costumes. And he just leaves. He smashes through the cake. And he says, those chimps were chumps. And then he sees a guy trying to enter his hotel room. And he's got boomerangs in his bag. A lot of people have boomerangs in their bags. Don't jump to conclusions, Bart. Note, he's jumping to a conclusion. It's Captain Boomerang, it must be. And he beats the crap out of the civilian. And then vibrates through the floor into a freezer of some sort where there are ice sculptures. And he says, yeah, it's got to be Captain Cold. I mean, these are clearly ice sculptures. These are not frozen people. That's Santa Claus. That is an angel with a harp. That was never a human being. He says, don't worry, man. I'll have you back to normal in a flash. And he leaves him there. And he vibrates through the freezer into a kitchen where a guy who looks like Super Mario says, "Aye!" and knocks over grease and sets the kitchen on fire. And so Bart thinks that is heat wave. I don't know why he thinks that. And then dude gets a fire extinguisher. Look at the flames. And he puts the fire out. And Bart beats the crap out of both of these three men. He beats them up. I don't know why he did that. He says, he doesn't know either. What the? And Here we go. Bart enters a ballet studio. And you see their mirrors here. So that's good. That was tough. And he says, oh my God, it's Mirror Master. Why would he think that? And he's going to go beat up these girls. But he runs face first into the mirror and knocks himself out. And then, they leave. So this is, listen. All right, Mirror Master, come out and fight like a man. All right, this isn't bad. It's okay. You see mirror images of Bart. And he never shows up, so he scritches his head. And he runs out down the hallway. And surprise, happy birthday, Bart Allen. No, that's not what happens. But it looks like it should be. Hey, look, the Beatles. The Beatles. Yeah. Over here is Tor Johnson, but they made him into a black man with his wife Vampira from Plan 9 from Outer Space. They're both black. Who's that right there? Oh, it's Cyberfrog. People ask me, when are you going to put Cyberfrog in the DC comic? Oh, I wasted no time putting Cyberfrog in the DC comic. Does that mean they own him? Yes, it does. It looks like Arrowette, she already solved the crisis, and there's a boomerang in the air, and right here, and then they're like the men that were in monkey suits. I don't really know. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. All's well, though. I mean, despite a couple dozen people who were assaulted by this child here, and she tries to explain things. I don't know if it's ever properly. I don't know. And there's a trash can full of money, and then here's a monkey trying to get away, and one of the monkeys was bad. He says, I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for meddlesome girls. Oh, amen. I fought, brother. I know what you mean. And so, all's well, like I said. Running across the Atlantic Ocean, and Max Mercury says, exactly, I'm still not clear. Exactly what was your role in this? Yeah. Exactly. Well, I was distracted. I distracted everyone so Arrowhead could flush out the villain. And Max Mercury impolitely doesn't just let it go at that. He says, how? Well, and then that's it for that, and we speed off into the sunset. Max Mercury is not touching the ground. He's flying, apparently. Whoops. My mistake. So, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there you go. That is, The Mighty Kong. I never heard of this. That is my first comic book for DC. And again, it was an inventory story. You can see that maybe it was meant to be printed, maybe it wasn't. But it got me in the door. I drew this, and then they hooked me up with Todd DeZago, and Todd DeZago and I did at least one 10-page story about Bart Allen for a Flash 80-page giant. I remember that. And then they gave me Impulse. They said, you're going to be taking over the book with issue number 50, but 50 hasn't been approved yet. You'll see the commentary track for that. So we're going to start you on issue number 51. And that's what I did from here. And issue 51 was me only on pencils. So a better inker came in and started making me look a little bit better. And we'll review that on another day. It should be interesting. And also my little mini feud with Peter David that happened almost immediately. Anyway, thanks for watching another one of my awesome commentaries for an awesome comic. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all your support. Please do click the subscribe button. And also, a lot of people are saying, you're doing these live chats where, you do sketch live chats and you give away the drawing at the end. And I wasn't notified. I didn't know that there was a live chat, so I missed it. I missed my chance to get a drawing. Well, that's your own fault. You have to click the bell. See, it says subscribe, and there's a bell at the bottom. Click that bell, and you will get an alert on your phone that says Comic Artist Pro Secrets is about to do a live chat. You'll be able to join us right on time. Okay? So I recommend that highly. Anyway, thanks. I'm your Uncle Ethan. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
I was the smile in your eye. I was the wind beneath your wings. I was the song that made you cry. I was so many things, but now there's nothing left to say. There's nothing left to say, but God bless the times we shared. God bless the times